Welcome into the weekend wrap-up with Trevor Junt. I'm your host, Trevor Junt. On today's show, we'll have Brenden Jin right there. We'll have Vaughn Drewien, and then we'll have Derek Joseph. In this show, we talk about all the NFL games that happened in the weekend, and we do that with a 2-minute timer. With that being said, let's get started. Okay, let me preface this show by just saying this was a wild week in the NFL. The NFL was wasted. They were pretty drunk. That's what I would say. The entire weekend, nothing really made any sense at all. Some of the top teams in the NFL fell, and some of the worst teams in the NFL rose and won. I didn't really know what happens, but no one can truly just project what happens each week, and it's part of the NFL. It's part of the league. It's amazing to watch. There's new parity now, equality throughout all teams, and it's a blast. So with that being said, what the hell happened? We don't know, but we're going to talk about it. So Brenden, let's hop into your first game. What is your first game?
Yeah, so up first, we'll be talking about the Raiders versus the Giants. 23-16, Giants on top. I was surprised by this one. I completely thought it'd go the other way. This was actually one of the more exciting games on Sunday. It was one of the closer ones. Derek Carr threw for 296 yards, 1 touchdown, and 2 interceptions. Daniel Jones only threw for 110 yards, but also had a touchdown. So I was kind of surprised by that stat line right there. Daniel Jones had a very low amount of passing yards.
110 yards.
110.
I mean, he didn't really make any mistakes. He had that one fumble, but I mean, I don't know. At this point, he's worse than a game manager, but he's kind of a game manager at the same time, you know?
Yeah, very true.
So I don't know. And then Devontae Booker really stepped in there for Saquon.
21 carries. I was really surprised by that workload. 21 carries for 99 yards, 3 catches, and 23 yards. So a total of 122 scrimmage yards. I was really surprised by that workload.
Yeah, and then the Giants defense, I was really impressed with.
Yeah,
I remember last year, at the end of the year, they were kind of they were becoming a good defense.
Yeah, they were 1 game away from the playoffs, weren't they?
I think so. I mean, that sounds realistic. I don't remember exactly, but yeah, I mean, the NFC East sucked really bad, obviously. Yeah. So the Giants had 2 picks, 1 pick six, 2 forced fumbles. And just were not letting Vegas do anything offensively. Really, they weren't letting them score at all.
Yeah. What I was really thinking about while watching the game was how did the off-the-field drama carry into the game? I mean, Henry Ruggs' fatal car crash, killing another woman. Damon Arnett also came out during the weekend and threatened someone with a gun on video. So I was really surprised that all that off-field drama didn't really carry, I guess, as much into the game as I thought it would by making it close, but it is still pretty prevalent.
They also cut him on Monday.
Yeah, they did. So that's 2 first-round picks, actually, too, that have been cut or dropped or something like that. You hate to see it.
Vegas is 5-3 though, and they're in the wild card spot.
They are.
So I mean, they're half a game out. I think leading the division. I think they're a half a game back. Do you think the Raiders can win their division, or do you think they're just a playoff team or even less, not a playoff team?
I mean, losing the head coach is always difficult to come back from. As long as they could get back into the rhythm that they had early on in the season, I see them being a playoff team. You can never count the Chiefs out. The Chargers they're still looking pretty good. I think they could definitely steal a wild card spot, though. Winning the division might be tough, like I said, without the head coach and everything like that. But, I mean, I don't see it, or I could see it happening. It's kind of difficult with the Chiefs in your division.
I think so, too. I mean, the AFC West is stacked. They're all the same records, too.
Yeah.
Kansas City, Las Vegas. Not Las Vegas. Los Angeles, Las Vegas. Yes, Las Vegas, and Denver. And then, I don't know, the cutting Damien Arnett, the Ruggs situation, the Gruden situation. This is all really hard on a team. It's kind of impressive what they're doing, to be honest.
Very true.
And then one stat that I read, in the past 19 years, Las Vegas is 3-16 after a bye week. So, I mean, that's not good at all.
Yeah,
Doesn't
terrible
really make
for
any sense.
game planning and everything.
Yeah.
It's surprising.
I'd agree. And then let's go into your next game. It's Cleveland and Cincinnati.
Yes. So the Browns versus the Bengals. It was the Browns on top, rolling 41-16. I honestly thought this game would be a lot better.
Me too.
I thought divisional, everything was leading up to it. Both have really good records, both gaining momentum at the same time. So I was kind of surprised by the outcome. Baker Mayfield had 218 passing yards and 2 TDs and only 21 passing attempts. And then Joe Burrow had 282 yards with 2 interceptions and no touchdowns.
And then Denzel awarded that 99-yard pick
Yes,
six.
he
That was
did.
pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. So obviously Baker Mayfield didn't have to throw too much because that running game was great.
Yeah, I mean, Nick Chubb, 14 carries, 137 yards,
Yeah.
and a touchdown.
Two
touchdowns.
touchdowns.
Yeah. And then you had that 170-yard.
Yeah, the breakaway.
Yeah.
That man hit the second gear.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw that, but his second cut was crazy.
He's something else. He's like,
Definitely.
he's similar to Derrick Henry in my mind. Like, they're both just like pure running backs that are very successful at what they do. You know.
Hard to take down.
And then the defense of the Bengals was really important in the past few weeks, and it just they weren't there this week. Obviously, they didn't show up to the game basically. And then another thing I noticed too is they're doubling Jamar Chase now.
Okay.
So I mean, he's what is it? 9 weeks into his career, and they're doubling him already.
Yeah.
He still had 6 for 46, for 49. My bad. But no explosive play like that we usually are used to.
Yeah.
But okay, so both the Browns and the Bengals are in the hunt for the wild card spot. They're one game back of their division because I think the Ravens have it at 6-2. Do you view either of these teams as true contenders?
I would have to say Browns more than the Bengals. I mean, the Bengals are obviously on a tear right now, but it's still their first season of actually being pretty good. I don't see them they could make the playoffs, but I don't see a deep run. They're still pretty young, like you said, Jamar Chase in his first year, Joe Burrow, second, coming off of an injury too. I think it would be difficult for them to go deep into the playoffs going against the Titans. They're a really highly experienced team, so I feel the Browns have a better chance of making a deeper run in the playoffs than the Bengals right now.
I'd agree with that. I do like the Bengals, however.
I do. Oh, I love the Bengals, and I'm excited for their future. But I feel like the Browns are built more for right now.
Not just that, but Kevin Stefanski as well.
Definitely.
The head coach is Kevin Stefanski. He knows what he's doing, man. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
And Zach Taylor is very inexperienced. He's a young guy. He's inexperienced for the Bengals. But yeah, and in this game, one of the main storylines for me was like, no Odell, no problem. You know.
Exactly. I was really surprised by that, especially during all this. Also, the Browns have drama. Was Odell the problem?
See, I don't know because it fell apart in New York. It fell apart in Cleveland. I mean, that usually leads to like the source of the problem being the guy that's leaving.
Yeah.
But one comparison that I make, I don't know if you know basketball pretty well, but Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler was a problem in Chicago. Was a problem in Minnesota, and it was a problem in Philadelphia. But it turns out he was the one that was working hard, and he was the one that was trying to change the culture.
And now he's the leader of the locker room in Miami.
Yeah.
And everyone looks up to him, and he's the one telling everyone to go harder and work harder. And where did they go? The championship. They might have lost, LeBron, but they still took him to the finals. Back to football. I do agree that yes, it could be a Jimmy Butler type situation because even after the release of Odell, a bunch of other old teammates and even Browns teammates said that Odell's one of the best teammates to have in the locker room. He's very supportive. So we'll see, I guess, in the upcoming future. But yeah,
I don't know. It's a confusing issue, and we'll see. I guess in the next what is it, like 8 more weeks left? We'll see what happens and who claims him, or if he doesn't claim, who he signs with. We'll see that. And then your next game is New England and Carolina.
Yes. So the Patriots versus the Panthers. Patriots were on top, 24-6. I really like the Patriots' defense this game.
Yeah,
they look great.
Goodness.
But going to the quarterback, Sam Darnold threw for 172 yards and 3 interceptions. Mac Jones had 139 passing yards and 1 interception. So not a very quarterback-friendly game.
True. Did you know, like, this is a stat that I heard on a podcast, around the NFL podcast, which, by the way, very respectable. Love those guys. Sam Darnold has 1 touchdown and 9 interceptions in 4 games against Bill Belichick.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Like, how is that even possible, man? He was seeing ghosts again. Remember when he said that a few years ago?
I feel bad for him. They should not have released that. Not at all. That is terrible.
Dude,
yeah.
Bill Belichick just confused him Super Bowl. And I don't think Sam Darnold's ever been good, in my opinion.
Yeah. I think they put him in too early against the Jets as a Jets quarterback, and it just totally ruined his confidence.
So, I mean, I thought P.J. Walker should have been in. What do you think?
I mean, I believe they pulled Sam Darnold a week ago for P.J. Walker. Maybe he should get more reps in practice before inserting him into a game. But, I mean, obviously I have no idea what they're doing at practice. But, yeah, I feel like he could have been a boost to their offense. Sometimes you have to look for change and maybe to, like some sort of spark. But after 3 interceptions, yeah, it's definitely hard to keep the guy in there.
And then with, like, again, going with the Panthers, CMC, Christian McCaffrey is back. I mean, 14 carries, 52 yards, 4 receptions for 54 yards. I mean, like, it's kind of sad, but, like, what he's doing is kind of pointless.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly. He was also the leading, like you said, the leading rusher and receiver on his team for that game. And it's his first game back off injury.
Yeah.
I feel that the Panthers' offense is too one-dimensional right now. I liked how in the beginning of the season when they were winning, they included DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson more into the mix rather than just being the CMC show. And obviously, when they're one-dimensional like that, it's easy to stop.
Did you see Robbie Anderson yelling at Sam Darnold on the sideline, by the way?
I think so, yeah.
It was after an interception. He was just straight up yelling at him. After the game, he said it was about brotherhood, but I don't know, man. When you see it on the sideline, that's not good to see.
That's not very good for the team.
And then on New England, yeah, I mean, Mac Jones didn't do much. He didn't have to do much, to be fair.
The defense did carry very hard.
J.C. Jackson has 2 picks. He had 2 picks in this game, one for an 88-yard touchdown. So he has 22 interceptions, which is leading the league since 2018. I thought that's a cool stat. And then New England is half a game out of their division lead. Do you think they could be frisky with Bill Belichick or Mac Jones?
Yeah, I think they could. I'm not quite sure. What do you mean by that?
I just think, like, fighting for their division, fighting for the playoffs. Do you think they can possibly win a playoff game, I guess?
Wild card maybe. I feel like the matchups really matter for that because Mac Jones is still inexperienced and young. And when the game comes down to it, I don't know if you could really rest on Mac Jones' shoulders. He showed that he was clutch, I guess, going back to the Dallas game, but he can only do so much right now. The offense is mainly built on the run game, which has opened up more of the passing game. I mean, Mac Jones only had 139 passing yards. I definitely could see them making a wild card spot, but I don't think they go any further than that.
And then before we go into my game, so Sam Darnold picked up. I mean, his option was picked up. 5th-year options about, I think it's $18.88 million, so like $19 million. The Panthers already have that on their books. Are you a believer in Sam Darnold? And like, how do you move? If not, how do you move Sam Darnold? How do you move a contract like that?
I mean, obviously, no one in the league is going to want him right now or be willing to pick that up. I feel like if you're going to do anything, you could start P.J. Walker and maybe hope that Sam Darnold could build his confidence back up in practice and maybe win that starting job back. But that's definitely a tough thing to do, especially if you take him out and bench him, you'll get 0 value for him in the future. You can't really do much with the guy after that.
It's a tough situation in Carolina.
Definitely. So we'll see how that plays out.
And then Denver and Dallas is my game. So Teddy Bridgewater is probably the most meh quarterback in the league for me. Just meh. I mean, 19 for 28, 249 yards and a touchdown. But what was really dominant by Denver in this game, they won 30-16, and they had a 30-0 lead until about 4 minutes left in the 4th quarter. So I mean, they just blew them out. Denver didn't. The defense didn't let Dallas do much. The running game was killer. Javonte Williams, the rookie at NC, North Carolina State, went for 17 carries, 111 yards. Melvin Gordon had 21 carries for 80 yards and a touchdown. So that's 190 total yards on the ground. That's a crazy game for them. And then Dallas, before we ask a few questions, Dallas I'm so confused by. I am so confused. I thought they were the NFC favorites.
I mean, every once in a while someone has a bad game.
Yeah.
I mean, I could grant them that. But yeah, their offense did not look good at all. I mean, they had 78 total rushing yards in only 16 attempts. They're down 30. Obviously, you're going to have to get the passing game. But to set up the passing game, you have to have a good run game that can support it. So I was really surprised by that.
And then, with Dallas, Denver, first off, schemed really well. So, I'm going to give some credit to Vic Fangio. I don't think he's that good of a coach, but I'll give him some credit right here, right now. And then Dallas they missed throws, drop passes. Ezekiel Elliott, I think, hyperextended his knee in this game, so it's kind of like okay on the running game. And then on the Dallas defensive side, the defensive front, my goodness, they looked good. They had 4 sacks, 10 tackles for a loss, 6 quarterback hits. It's really the defense, the secondary that got torn up in this game. So Micah Parsons, first off, defensive rookie of the year for me. He had 10 total tackles and 2.5 sacks. And then the secondary is where I go to. So Trevon Diggs, I remember at the start of the season, people were like, okay, he's the defensive player of the year. You know? Mm-hmm. I never thought that because, like, if you look at his actual stats, he was getting yards put on him.
Yeah, most in the league.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it's crazy to see how far he's kind of fallen off. Yeah. He got destroyed in this game. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you saw a touchdown by Tim Patrick that was just right over him. Yeah, it was a pretty bad game.
I do see Trevon Diggs as a boomer bust player, as we were talking about. He gave up at least at the time the most yards in the league, but he also had the most interceptions.
Yeah.
So I feel like either he's going to the house for the defense or he's giving up a house call.
And I think it's because they were throwing to him so much. Yeah. That's why he was getting interceptions. Mm-hmm. And then so Dallas looked stagnant. I figured with Dak coming back, they would look better, but they straight up looked awful.
Yeah.
What'd you say? He was 19 for 39, 232, 2 touchdowns and an interception. That's not really a great game for Dak. So, okay, what do you think this says about the Cowboys? What do you think this loss says?
I don't carry that much weight with it. I mean, obviously it's a terrible showing. 0 points through, 3 3/4 of the quarters of the game? That's terrible. But I think they could definitely bounce back. They're going to be the runaway division leaders. I don't see the Giants coming back. Eagles, no. Washington football team, no.
Yeah.
So I don't see any of them coming back. Dallas will definitely have a playoff spot. But like I said, I think they'll definitely be able to bounce back. Their offense was one of the most potent in the league. And I think it's just one of those games where, you have a few mess ups here and there, and it'll be okay.
And then I agree with that. I was going to say the same thing. I think don't overreact.
Yeah.
This is a loss. There's sometimes you just lose games any given Sunday in the NFL. And again, just don't overreact. I think the Cowboys will still win their division, be one of the top teams in the NFC. Mm-hmm. And then, I'd agree with that.
Like you said earlier, this weekend was crazy.
It was a wild
You'll get more into it later, but yeah, no one saw most of these games coming.
Well, I appreciate you coming on the show. I didn't shout out your social media.
Oh, no worries.
Follow Brenden at Brenden J14, and also he has a podcast talking about sports, all things sports. What do you cover on that podcast?
Mostly we have college athletes or even high school, maybe upcoming, onto the show, and we talk about their experiences and mostly about who they are as a person and getting into a little about sports.
And that's All Gain Sports, is that right?
No Gain Sports.
No Gain Sports. Follow that on social media as well. I'm sorry I didn't shout you out earlier.
No worries.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. You did a great job.
Again. Appreciate it.
It was fun talking about football. It always is. It's always a blast.
Definitely.
So again, thank you, and then we'll cut right here. Nice. Okay, welcome back to the Weekend Wrap-Up with Trevor Junt. I'm your host, Trevor Junt. This is Vaughn Drewien. Follow him on social media. A few weeks ago, I think I forgot to shout him out on social media. I don't know why I'm having that issue. But again, it's at Vaughn and then 6 underscores. So Vaughn ______. I don't know if that was 5 or 6, but that was 5. That was 5, so one more underscore. Follow him on social media. Vaughn, let's go into your first game, man. Atlanta and New Orleans.
Yes, sir. So this was, I didn't expect this to be the most exciting game this weekend necessarily, but this was really interesting, man. There was there's some good storylines going into this, and Atlanta, I'll just say, was really close to having another Super Bowl blunder on their hands.
Jeez.
Matt Ryan, he stepped up. Man, he had a good game. Matty Ice back on it, 23 of 30 for 343 and 2 touchdowns. Perfect passer rating. Can't get much better than that.
He had a perfect passer rating in that game?
Yeah, 158.3. I was actually pretty surprised by that.
Yeah.
I was more surprised, honestly, by Trevor Siemian.
Me too.
Who wasn't half bad. I mean, he had a decent game, 25 of 41. Playing from down for so long in the game, he was throwing a lot, but 249 with 2 scores himself. He was hanging in there with really, really solid quarterback.
Surprised me as well. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't know he was on the Saints, to be honest.
Oh, really?
I had lost track of him since the
I remember he was on the Broncos, yeah, and then I don't really know where he went from there. I think he was on the Jets at one point. He's a journeyman. And then Cordero Patterson also, man, dude.
Love this guy.
I mean, what is he, a running back, wide receiver, kick return, punt return specialist? I mean, goodness. He had 9 carries. He only had 9 carries for 10 yards. but then 6 catches for 126, and then a 64-yard game that set him up to win the game for the field goal.
Yeah,
The field
I
goal.
mean, and that was clutch, man. Like the catch, the dime was all perfect, and then his little tiptoe job down the sideline to get him even closer and set up Young Ho for that game winner. Man, that was awesome to see. I root for Cordell everywhere he's at, man. He's one of those unique Swiss Army knife kind of guys. You know, like you said, he's a running back now. Who'd have thought that? Great wide receiver with a lot of skills and all-pro kick returner. He had another great game on that end.
And then, and you mentioned Younghoe Koo as well. Dude, again, I think I've said this last week because I think they won a game barely either last week or 2 weeks ago, but he is the Korean king of the NFL. That's how I view him. He's awesome, bro. He's awesome. And then I'm just going to touch on this. Atlanta, at the start of the season, I called them like one of the worst teams in the league. And now they're 4-4, and they're the 7th seed in the NFC playoff race. I still think they're awful. I still think their defense is awful. And then I called New Orleans pretenders a few weeks ago. I think the first week. I believe they still are. They're missing Jameis now, but I mean they're just not that good of a team overall. I don't think Sean Payton's that great of a coach. Yeah, I don't think Sean Payton's that great of a coach, man.
Huh.
And then let's go to the Saints for a moment. Do you keep starting Simeon or do you go to Taysom Hill?
I mean, oh man, from what you saw with Simeon today or this week, you can't, you can't knock him from getting a chance. Like, if he did just awfully, like probably a lot of people expected, you would want to see what your options are. Keep going hybrid with Taysom Hill doing what he does. You know, he's also 3 for 3 on the day passing. Like that's just what I think he's better in a flex position where the offense doesn't know or the defense doesn't know what they're gonna deliver. So I think just a big arm guy like Simeon back there slinging the rock to some I guess they're not great receiving core anymore, but
Michael Thomas.
You know, they have options. I think Simeon can hold it down a little bit. I would say just keep going with him. I did like seeing Mark Ingram back in the Saints uniform, man. That is beautiful. It's good for him.
And then I think I agree with you. I mean, if Simeon is doing this, keep doing it. You know, keep it up.
Why not?
And then your next game is Minnesota and Baltimore.
Yep. Computer froze.
No problem.
So I mean, whenever you're talking about Baltimore, I just want to talk about Lamar all day. Man, this guy is special. I just want to read a couple stats here. 27 of 41. He was slinging it once again. 266 through the air, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks. You know, because he's chucking it up sometimes. It is what it is. But 21 rushes.
Yeah.
120 yards. I mean, he damn near outran the whole Minnesota offense.
He really carried this
quarterback.
team.
Like it's just unbelievable. He is who I would play like in Madden.
Oh yeah.
You know, just throwing it up there and then running out of the pocket and making magic happen, pretty much all by yourself. That's what he does. He's a real life Madden player.
Well, I don't understand because I mean they won 31-34. I mean, so Minnesota had a 14-point lead in the third quarter and they blew it. And you were talking about Lamar. I mean, I don't know if you noticed that, but Lamar has now broken the record for the most 100-yard rushing games by a quarterback.
Oh, yeah.
He did that in 45 games, so he did that in 4 seasons. And then Michael Vick has 11 in 13 seasons. And so what? Lamar is just a whole nother level, man.
He's a different breed.
I remember when we were kids playing Madden, Michael Vick was always the guy to play with.
Yep.
And now kids nowadays are playing with Lamar.
All day, yeah.
Goodness.
Myself included. I love it. And on the other side of the QB coin, you got Kirk Cousins. I'm just really not a big fan of this dude.
Yeah.
You never know what you're going to get with him. He has a good arm. You know, he has great playmakers around him. And he's won, a decent amount in his career. He's been clutch in moments, but he's also been horrible in other clutch moments. He wasn't horrible in this game with that, but he wasn't nearly good. He was 17 of 28 for under 200 yards once again. He threw for 2 touchdowns and had a little half-yard plunge into the end zone for a rushing score, if you want to call it that. But I mean, mostly it's Dalvin Cook running for him. was Alexander Madison for a while, and then Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen catching balls for him. Like, I don't think he's a great leader. I think he's a game manager.
I'd agree with that, yeah.
And when he doesn't game manage, he does pretty poorly.
And what is he getting? $80 million guaranteed right now?
Oh my God, yeah. He set a record for that kind of contract, and like, why Kirk? I just don't understand. I can't wrap my head around it.
He's just making his money. He's just playing until he's making his money, I guess.
And I don't hate it. Get your money, Kirk. But I'm just glad he's not my quarterback.
And then Minnesota, they're 3-5 now, but they've led by at least 7 points in every single game that they played in.
Yeah, I mean, well, one of their things also has always been giving up late leads, not coming up clutch. And this overtime game was a perfect example, right? They get a pick on the first drive and then just stall, can't capitalize on it.
Anthony Barr just swat and picked. That was amazing to watch.
It was. But, I mean, it's what you come to expect watching this Vikings team with Cousins at the helm. I feel like I'm really hating on Cousins, but, I mean, I'm not a fan.
He's not playing super well, man.
No, man. And then, yeah, Baltimore can just easily come back. Lamar keeps it on the ground. And they set up Justin Tucker again. I mean, that's what he does. It's another day at the office.
This comeback is insane. And I say this every week, but I feel like it just keeps getting hotter and hotter and hotter. But the seat of Mike Zimmer right now is like molten lava. I think he's done after this year. I think he's fired. Well, what's your opinion on that? We've been talking about Kirk Cousins and possibly moving on from Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
But what about Mike Zimmer?
I think his time should be done by now. I think they're one of those teams that, like, they're not rebuilding, but they're not getting any better. You don't see any position for them. They're kind of boxed in with the Packers in that division, and there's not a lot of upward movement available. They're watching the contracts age from their best players, like Anthony Barr. Is he still on the team?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, they have a few weapons, and like I said, on offense, I'm a big fan of their wide receivers. And you're kind of just wasting your window of opportunity right now. I think a shift in ideals and a little different play style would be good for the Vikings. I think I wouldn't mind at all if Zimmer was gone after this year, maybe before the end of the year.
I agree, and don't get me wrong, man. I think Mike Zimmer is a great defensive coordinator.
Sure.
But that's as far as I would take it. I don't think he's that great of a head coach.
Yeah, you can kind of see that on paper too with how the Vikings have played even the last few seasons.
Yeah. And then your next game is Tennessee and the Rams, right?
Yeah, man.
Hop into that.
Yeah, Sunday night. I was expecting a little more from this game. Not gonna lie, it was interesting.
I did not see this coming at all. Yeah.
No. So I thought the Rams were going to be a lot more competitive. Titans are a great team, but so are the Rams, right? I mean, they can hang in with anybody. And especially with Tannehill, he wasn't going off by any means.
At all, yeah.
He was decent, but like he was making some less than stellar decisions. And he wasn't, 19 for 147. That's pretty mediocre. Tannehill's never been the lead guy in the offense. It's been Derrick Henry, right? And Derrick Henry's out, and no one could really pick up the slack in that regard. But you wouldn't tell by the score, right? 28-16, and it didn't seem that close to me. It ended up being a pretty close game. The Rams could have made it interesting with that Higbee touchdown that got called back, but other than that, I mean, it was kind of all Titans.
If you told me that this would be the stats, if you said they had a total of 69 rushing yards and Tannehill went 143 for one touchdown, one interception, I'd be like, oh yeah, they absolutely lost that game.
Right.
But it was their defense. Their defense played amazing.
Strong.
Stingy
all game.
Yes. Jeffrey Simmons and the D-line destroyed the Rams' offensive line. And the offensive line is like a strong point for the Rams, too.
It's always really good.
Simmons had 3 sacks, and the team had 5 sacks with 11 quarterback hits. You just don't see that happen in the Rams, man.
Yeah, and a stat I noticed, too, was the 5 sacks on Stafford lost him 41 yards.
Wow.
I mean, that's a lot of field position you're giving up.
That is.
And overall, I think Stafford was just holding the ball a little too long, trying to do too much. Obviously, there was that one play in the end zone. He was getting spun down for a sack and just slung it right to the linebacker.
Yeah.
And I mean, those kind of decisions will definitely lose you football games.
David Long Jr. is forever thankful for Matthew Stafford throwing that pass.
Man.
And then that Kevin
Served on
Byard
a
pick
platter.
6 as well.
Yeah, that was actually awesome to watch. Dude's got wheels, but yeah,
He's
Stafford.
a good safety, yeah.
Yeah, but Stafford, I mean, he slings the rock as well a lot. He's always had a top tier arm. But I don't know what happened. It's just it seemed like when he needed to make the right choice or the right decision to give the ball away, he didn't do it.
So this is what I would say. This is what I think would happen. I think it was a great coaching matchup, like Mike Vrabel versus Sean McVay. I think he outcoached Sean McVay. And I think somebody that needs like recognition is the defensive coordinator Shane Bowen. I think he deserves respect. He shut down Matthew Stafford and the Rams. Matthew Stafford was looking like an MVP contender, and then he just makes him throw 2 interceptions, incomplete 17 passes. You know, he just shuts him down. It was a great scheme by Tennessee in my mind.
Yep.
So Tennessee is now the first seed in the AFC. They're 7-2. Do you believe they could become the first seed without Derrick Henry, or what do you think? You think so?
Yeah, well, obviously Derrick Henry makes them, I want to say, unstoppable. Like
Their offense is crazy.
He himself is unstoppable, and then everything works complementary to him. But I think, they're a complete team. I think we touched on it a couple weeks ago. Like the AFC's kind of weak. Bills have had a few step backs as well. Tennessee, I mean, they don't really have any real competition as far as that goes. And picking up AP, I mean, that could be a difference maker. Right?
Oh, dude. So he had 125 career touchdowns, and it tied Walter Payton for 11th all time in that stat. So, yeah, AP is a good pickup there.
He's also active leaders. He has that many. And the second is Cam Newton with rushing touchdowns. Yeah.
Wow.
And he beats them by like 30, 40.
Jeez.
Yeah, if you count Frank Gore as retired. He's not officially, but
I mean, yeah.
Crazy what he's done in his career.
His son's almost in the league. Frank Gore's son.
Yeah, that's right.
And, okay, so what about the Rams? Does this stun you a bit on them? Does it change your view on the Rams at all?
I think the Rams have these kind of games. Like they rely a lot on McVay's creativity, and sometimes teams have off days. I've seen it happen with the Rams before. They always seem to come back with something. I wouldn't concern myself too much with how the Rams are going to do moving forward. It was really shocking to watch them, especially on prime time, kind of eat dirt a little bit. But I think they're still, much in the contention. I don't think that they have anything to really worry about.
I'd agree.
And then also with Von Miller coming, he couldn't play this game. I was actually disappointed. I wanted to see him in that Rams uniform. That ankle's
40,
still
by the way.
sore. He's what?
He's wearing 40, by the way. I don't like that so much.
Really?
Yeah.
That's weird.
But, I know. His ankle was sore. You're right. You can go on about that,
Yeah, so he's going to add a lot to that defense. I mean, I can't wait to see him and Donald.
Yeah.
Just a creaming quarterback.
Seriously, going to obliterate offensive lines.
Yeah, that'll be interesting.
And then my game is Green Bay and Kansas City. Let's go into that.
Yes, sir.
So first, let's talk about let's go to Green Bay. So this was Jordan Love's first game in the NFL. We all know that. He didn't play awful, like stats-wise. I mean, he was 19 for 34, 190 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. But, man, did he not look good. He was just inaccurate. He was just uncomfortable. It's been a year in training. He has hundreds of practices. And then he comes in. Yeah, preseason. He comes in, he does nothing. I mean, this guy got Aaron Rodgers feeling fine, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, are you going to be making, like, assumptions about anything off this game? I know a lot of people are going to jump to conclusions, but it is his first game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yes, he looked pretty pathetic at times, but, I mean, you got to give him a lot of credit for just stepping in there against the Chiefs, of all people. Like, they're a solid team.
The defense isn't so solid, though. That's the thing.
Yeah.
But what I noticed
it's a big stage, and I'm glad he looked composed. Did he look composed? I don't know.
Somewhat.
Kind of. He didn't look completely lost.
Yeah.
I just want to give him credit for that. And I think every game he'll improve. I don't know when the next time he'll get that chance is, but I don't want to put him under the table yet. You know what I mean?
I think
He's so skilled.
I think he'll start against Seattle. I mean, because Aaron Rodgers is eligible Saturday.
Right.
So I don't really know if it makes sense for him not to practice at all. And I don't know. Aaron Rodgers, like, what I noticed from this game is Aaron Rodgers' selfishness of, like, not getting the vaccine cost his team the #1 spot in the NFC. They would have won this game easily if Aaron Rodgers was playing in this game.
For sure.
It's ridiculous. He went to that Halloween party wearing no masks. He was in press conferences wearing no masks. So what's coming are fines probably. No suspension for him. But if he does keep it up, Florio said on Sunday Night Football that that could lead to a suspension and also losing a draft pick for the Packers. So and then Kansas City. Kansas City was blitzing like crazy to try to throw off Jordan Love, and it was working.
Yep.
The Kansas City, like the Chiefs, man, I don't know what their issue is. They're winning such ugly games. They're still winning them, but they're such ugly games, man.
Yeah. No, it's weird. I don't know what to think about this team anymore. I mean, especially when you're talking about Mahomes. Mahomie is not doing that great. He's my fantasy choice. Like he's been at the helm all year for me, and I just thought, I had it in the bag with him as my quarterback. That is just so not the case this year. I know that a lot of teams have been employing like a double high safety on him, and
yes, actually that's the point that I was gonna have. Yeah.
Yeah, and like blocking off that, and they're always double teaming Hill, so he can't break away. And I don't know, just Mahomes hasn't been able to restructure himself and adjust to any of the game design that he's been seeing. It's kind of blown me away. Like I thought he had more capabilities as a play caller, like as a guy running the offense. I mean, he's super skilled athletically, has an amazing arm. It's just been jarring to watch what he's been doing this year. I don't really understand it.
Well, what's wild for me too is they're 5-4 and they're like a game back of being in the playoffs too.
Right.
So they're playing this bad, but they're still like super close to the playoffs, man.
Yeah, I still think they're going to sneak in somehow.
Me too.
And
they're going to make noise too in the playoffs.
For sure.
I think.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, the two high like cover two shell, the two high safeties, and then the corners are like playing the corner, like they're actually playing the corners.
Yeah.
Shutting down Kelsey, shutting down Hill, shutting down Mahomes. We'll see. I mean, they'll make adjustments, I assume. Andy Reid is one of the most inventive head coaches I've ever seen.
But that's what I'm saying. Like I would give him credit for figuring it out at some point, and I didn't think it would take this long to do so. And there's no real end in sight. I don't know when they'll like start getting on those high throttle offensive games again.
Yeah.
I don't see it happening. I don't know what's going on. Andy Reid, he's one of the best in the business, so you would expect more from him, honestly. And one thing I'd noticed about this game, I've kept my eyes on it a lot, is Josh Gordon. 1 target and no catches.
Yeah.
I mean, that doesn't sit well with me for some reason. I don't know.
I think they'll fix it over time. Well, Vaughn, I think that's the end of all of our games. Thank you so much for coming on the show, man. You did a great job.
Yeah, of course.
Again, follow him at Vaughn _____. At 6 underscores. At Vaughn with 6 underscores. Follow him on Instagram. Are you on Twitter as well?
Nope.
He's not on Twitter, but follow him on Instagram. Thank you for coming on the show, man. Again, you did a great job. One more time. There we go. And we'll cut right here. Welcome back to the Weekend Wrap-Up with Trevor Junt. I'm Trevor Junt. This is Derek Joseph. His social media handle is at DerekJoseph98. Is that correct?
Derek.Joseph98.
Derek.Joseph98. Follow him on social media. Okay, buddy, let's go into your first games. What is your first game?
All right, so the first game I got here is the Cardinals versus 49ers, a nice little NFC West matchup here. Usually the NFC West games are pretty competitive, but this one, not really. This was really just the Cardinals versus James Conner in this game, who went off. He went for 21 carries, 96 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns, and 5 receptions, 77 yards with a receiving touchdown as well. He was just incredible this entire game. He was fun to watch. He looked like the James Conner we saw when he was in Pittsburgh and replaced Le'Veon Bell those few years back. Yeah. The Cardinals were without Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins in this game, so that made things pretty interesting. So Colt McCoy he managed the game just fine, going for 22 of 26 for 249 yards and a touchdown. You can't really ask for much more. Cardinals defense played out of their minds, kind of like they always do too. That was really interesting to watch. And the only highlight for the 49ers in this game really was George Kittle and Brandon Ayuk. They each had one touchdown, and George Kittle had 101 receiving yards.
Ayuk came out of hibernation, man. He's been hiding the entire season. But yeah, this game, again, this season, I mean, this not just this season, but this week was so wild. This game makes no sense to me. Colt McCoy was the starting quarterback. No DeAndre Hopkins, like you said. No AJ Green. Chase Edmonds sprained his ankle.
Yep.
James Conner steps in there, destroys, like you said.
Yeah.
He's now the league leader in touchdowns with 11.
Yeah, it was really weird that the what was whatever I was going to say, it's not relevant. But just watching this game, I was really shocked at the way everything went down in this though, because I'm thinking Colt McCoy, he's not going to do very well against a pretty good 49ers defense, but he did just fine. And James Conner obviously stole the show.
And
you can't ask for more out of what he did
They're
today.
8-1 now, right? With sole possession of the first seed.
Yeah. The Cardinals are dangerous, but I do think they are pretty close to coming back to reality at some point. There's going to be a game or two where a team's going to beat them, and they're going to beat them by a lot. It kind of happens to every contender that you see at some point in the season, and it's how you bounce back from those is what's going to determine how good you are going throughout the season.
So before I go into the coaching, I believe everything you say is relevant. So don't shoot yourself down. And then Cliff Kingsbury straight up out-coached Kyle Shanahan as well. San Francisco looked awful. They have no idea where they want to go with the season. They're 0-4 at home. The defense was supposed to be good. They're not good. This was like the second team of Arizona, like the second strings, and they still destroyed them.
Yeah, Jimmy G didn't look very good in this game.
No, he did not.
And I've never really been too much of a Jimmy G fan in my life either. It's just, I think they have a better quarterback behind him. The only downside is that he's younger.
Yeah.
That's the only downside.
And inexperience as well.
Yeah. But you can't get experience. You can't get experience without playing. So,
True.
Why put the guy who's not as good in? That's the part that doesn't make any sense to me.
So Kyle Shanahan was like the offensive guru, but he's falling off.
Mm-hmm.
I think it is time for a change of direction, like you were saying. Move to Trey Lance. That's what I think as well.
Yeah, you got Trey Lance at the number 2 pick for a reason. There's a reason you traded up to get a guy like that, and you're not going to use him. That doesn't make any sense to me.
One point that I want to say about Garoppolo too, if people don't remember, I think when they wanted to trade, they called the Patriots about Tom Brady because they thought they were going to move on from Tom Brady. So they tried to get Tom Brady. Patriots said no, and they're like, hey, we have this guy Jimmy Garoppolo here. And the 49ers like, okay, we'll take him. And they gave him a second-round pick, and now they have Jimmy Garoppolo, and they've had Jimmy Garoppolo for years. He had that first few games of stardom, and now we're kind of stuck with him for a few years. They have Trey Lance now, and I think it's time to move on. I do.
Yeah.
And then the Niners are in last place of the NFC West currently. What do you think we talked about moving on from Garoppolo. What do you think could fix him? And is Kyle Shanahan even guaranteed a coaching job at the end of the season?
I think he is because I'm not really ready for them to move on from Shanahan. I think he has 1 or 2 more years left in him because he has been pretty unlucky these past few years, especially last year with all the injuries that came to his defense, which is the strong point of that team. But the defense is also kind of looking a little bit lost without Robert Saleh, which is kind of an interesting development. So I want to see how the rest of his team goes for the next 1 or 2 years. Then we can probably talk about him being on the hot seat.
Yeah, I think so as well. And then your next game is what is your next game?
We are going to do the Texans and the Dolphins, and
wow.
this game for the Texans was not good.
Yeah.
The only player I even bothered to really write any positive notes for the Texans in this game was Kymie Fairbairn, giving him the 3 field goals. And that's the only scoring that the Texans had this entire game. I mean, and then Jacoby Brissett, he didn't have the greatest game, but he did better than Tyrod Taylor. He went for 26 of 43 for 244 yards and a touchdown. 2 interceptions, though, which made this game a little bit sloppy.
Yeah.
This game probably could have been a little bit more of a blowout if those interceptions weren't thrown. But
I don't know what to call this game other than like a garbage fest.
it really was. Sometimes I pick these types of games because I'm hoping it's going to actually be good. The 2 teams are going to bring out the best in each other. That was not the case for this one. We had some weird plays being called in this game. Like you had the Myles Gaskin Wildcat touchdown, the former Husky getting that one done. Mac Hollins had a touchdown. And one pretty cool highlight from this game were Mike Gesicki's 2 one-handed catches in this game. Those were really fun to watch. He was full extension, just kind of like reaching way out to get them, and just putting them in.
People forget about him. He tests at the combine. And it's like all of his athleticism stuff was like 99, like 98 percentile, 99 percentile, 97 percentile.
Yeah.
That guy's an athlete.
Yeah, he's really good. And the Dolphins aren't the worst team in the NFL, but they're definitely not the best. And they didn't have their usual quarterback in, obviously. So that
I feel bad for Tua.
That changes a lot of things up. Tua's gotten a bad rep, and I don't know, because the Dolphins were so good last year. I'm pretty sure the last time we were on this show together, we talked about how good they were last year and how different it is this year, and not much has really changed for them.
Yeah.
As personnel-wise, at least. So I don't know what these guys need to change, but something needs to. But a win against the Texans, as unimpressive as that may be, it may be just the confidence booster they need to kind of start turning.
Snap that 7-game losing streak.
Start turning their season around a little bit.
I'd agree. And then this game also had 9 total turnovers, and that's the most in 5 years.
That's incredible. It's honestly insane. It seemed like every time when I was watching this game, every time I looked up, somebody was turning the ball over, and I didn't know who. I was kind of just had the red zone on. Then you'd see what's his name just going like, oh, here's another turnover in this game, and another one, and another one. It's like, what's happening here?
And then Myles Gaskin, you spoke on 20 carries for 34 yards. You know what that average is? That's 1.7 yards per carry.
Yeah, it wasn't good. It wasn't a good showing
1.7?
It wasn't a good showing for anyone. But you know what? He got a touchdown.
He did get a touchdown.
And that's what counted. That's what helped them win this game. So.
It did. And then so Miami's in a sticky situation, I think, with Tua. Do you let him heal and stick with him for the coming years, or do you move on from him? I think we go over this quite a few times, every few weeks. But what do you think, man? What's your opinion on Tua or moving on?
I feel like Tua's just too young to move on from him yet. I feel like you got to get a guy through his rookie deal before you just give up on him. Because if you just get rid of a guy in the middle of his rookie deal, then you lose the potential of having a bargain at quarterback. Because you look at what the Seahawks did with Russell Wilson back in the day when they were still paying him on a rookie contract. They got a Super Bowl out of him and 2 Super Bowl appearances out of him. Same thing with Patrick Mahomes too before they got to pay him. So you get the chance to build around a young quarterback and pay other guys a lot of money to make yourself a good team, but the downside but the driving factor in that is that your quarterback does need to be good for you to have a good team.
And I'd agree with that. And then your next game is Los Angeles and Philly?
Yeah, the Chargers versus the Eagles. And this was the best game I had to cover this week. This was a really fun one. We got to get a glimpse into the future maybe with this game, especially with Justin Herbert. Maybe Jalen Hurts, maybe not. But I liked what I saw out of him in this game. So Justin Herbert went for 32 of 38 passing with 356 yards and 2 touchdowns.
My goodness, man. Jeez.
A guy that has been in the MVP conversation, maybe not the front runner, but he has definitely been in the conversation multiple times. Keenan Allen, although he didn't have any touchdowns, but he did have a lot of receptions. He had 12 receptions for 104 yards. That was really fun to watch. And then Jalen Hurts, he had himself a good game too. 11 for 17, 162 yards passing and 1 touchdown, and then 10 carries for 62 yards.
Yeah.
And the Eagles were really close in this game up until that last drive that the Chargers had, and then Devontae Smith had that really good touchdown at the end of the game that
He had 116 of those 162 yards.
Yeah, and so obviously Devontae Smith is his favorite target. That was fun to watch, watching this guy just get everything, and then he went full extension for that touchdown to tie it up at the end of the game. And then obviously the Chargers were able to just run it down with Austin Eckler for most of that final drive and kick that game-winning field goal at the end.
I think it's impressive how aggressive Brandon Staley is as well. They went for it they go for it on fourth down all the time, the time. And then at the end of this game, they had a 4th and 1 that they ran with Austin Eckler. They converted, and then they had a 4th and inches that they just plowed through with Justin Herbert on a sneak. That's just really impressive to me. You're showing the confidence in your offense and your quarterback, and doing that. You know?
Especially your young quarterback too. That's another thing. He's only in his second year of this, and watching Justin Herbert in college, I wasn't sure whether or not he was going to be good in the NFL and whether or not his game was going to transfer very well, but it has.
Yeah,
it's been really fun to watch. This guy is incredible. He won the Rookie of the Year last year, and he's in the MVP conversation this year. This guy has nothing but a bright future ahead of him. And Jalen Hurts, time will tell with him, but I do think he has the potential to be something special at some point.
I think so as well. I think he's in a tough spot, to be honest.
Yeah. Philly is they were good a few years back, but it's hard to after completely rebuilding, it's hard to really just get back into the flow really quick like that. So.
And not just that, on LA, on the Chargers, I think it shows confidence in his offense, but also his defense is so bad that I think he also just has no confidence in his defense, and that's part of the reason he's going for it on fourth down so often.
Yeah, because the Eagles aren't necessarily much of a powerhouse, but they gave up a lot of points and yardage in this game.
So how much do you believe in LA or the Chargers? How much do you believe in Justin Herbert, I guess?
I think that they're a playoff team. They could maybe get to the conference championship, but I don't think that they have quite what it takes to get that next level against the Super Bowl, because I can't see them beating the Buffalo Bills or somebody like that against them. Even though Buffalo didn't really have the best showing this time around, honestly.
Do you have an opinion on Brandon Staley then, the head coach?
I can't really say I've looked into him too much to really form an opinion on him, so I'll probably step off of that, but because the Chargers are probably the team I've watched the least this year, but with the exception of this game. But from what I saw, it looked pretty impressive, and they look good enough to keep him around for sure.
And I think that's a good thing to say as well. I think they are good enough to win playoff games, but the Super Bowl, I don't think they're quite there yet as well.
No, definitely not.
And then that's the end of your game. Is that correct?
Yes, that is.
So let's go into my game, the last game that we're going to cover. Buffalo and Jacksonville. What a fun game. I don't know what to call this.
Was it Jacksonville or Saxonville this weekend? Because it seemed like it was the return of that 2017 or 2018 team that had Jalen Ramsey and all those guys getting those sacks all the time. They just looked like an old-fashioned Jaguars game, and in one of the better showings for their defense and one of the worst showings for the Bills' offense I've ever seen.
Yeah, and Buffalo lost 6-9 in this game.
Yeah,
my goodness.
There's absolutely no offense in this game whatsoever, and it was kind of crazy it's crazy to watch a game where no touchdowns get scored. That always intrigues me a little bit, but even though it may be a little bit boring to watch. But
so this is the Josh Allen game too. Josh Allen sacked Josh Allen.
Yeah.
This is the first time a player has ever sacked a guy with the exact same name.
Didn't he get an interception off of him and a fumble?
Yeah, he recovered a fumble, got a sack, and got a pick off of him.
Yeah, that's insane. That two guys with the exact same name going up against each other, and the one that you think isn't going to be the powerhouse in it becomes the powerhouse.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, Josh Allen. The other Josh Allen had a really great game on.
But this is like an any given Sunday. People say that's a term. It's like an any given Sunday thing for me. I mean, they got destroyed by Geno Smith last week. They gave up 31 points, and to the Bills they only give up 6. That's a massive difference.
Yeah.
Trevor Lawrence too. I just want to make a point on Trevor Lawrence before we jump into Buffalo. He went 15 for 26, 118 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. I don't think the numbers are showing actually how good he's playing.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate though because he has to run away from defenders all the time because his offensive line is just it's built like a strainer. Like everything just goes through it.
And not just that, but like they're dropping passes. I mean, they're not running the right routes. I don't know, man. That's a good point. The offensive line is not good either at all.
Yeah, and any rookie quarterback that has to go through that all the time and is constantly running through his life, and he's learning an NFL offense at the same time, like you can't expect too much out of the kid. And what he is doing is impressive nonetheless.
I'd agree.
Because I know I don't want Aaron Donald coming at me at full speed or even a guy like or even just anyone else in the NFL because everyone in the NFL is the best players you played against in college.
True.
So,
and then Buffalo, I mean, apparently they can't win a game if Josh Allen doesn't play exceptional. You know, it's kind of like Kansas City where they like really rely on Patrick Mahomes, or Seattle where they really rely on Russell Wilson. If he doesn't have a good game, they don't have a good game. I want to make a point on running the ball. I'll stop this for a second. Okay. Zach Moss got injured in this game, but combined, the Buffalo Bills running backs rushed for 9 times for 22 yards. Josh Allen had 50 yards and 5 carries. So I just want to make this point, okay? Running the ball is kind of like a meme nowadays. You know, on Twitter, people always like go after people who run the ball so often. But people say don't pay running backs. I agree with that. I think you can plug and play almost any running back in the league. They're all really talented. There's some exceptional ones. Like exceptions where it's like Derrick Henry or Christian McCaffrey or actually, you know what? Even Christian McCaffrey they put in Mike Davis last year. He played super well.
Yeah.
Chuba Hubbard this year played super well. Who else? David Montgomery got injured. Khalil Herbert stepped in, played really well. There's an issue there. Stats also show you don't have to establish the run to make play action successful. You can just run play action without establishing the run, without having a good running game. But however, running the ball shows physicality on your team. It makes the defense honest. If you do play action, it makes the defense honest when you're running the ball. That shows that you can run the ball, that you can dominate them running the ball. Your offensive line can dominate them if you run the ball. So in that sense, I don't think a successful offense can be unbalanced so much. I think they can be unbalanced a little bit, pass the ball a little bit more than running the ball. But I think you have to be somewhat balanced to be successful in the NFL.
yeah, it really is sad to see the franchise running back kind of just go off the wayside after guys like Marshawn Lynch and Adrian Peterson and like you name any other ones from like the 2010s era. Those guys were just incredible, and there's some teams that there's still some teams that still try and find that type of guy, but the Bills clearly haven't, and they clearly don't have any intention to. But you do need to run the ball.
Yeah.
It is a critical part of the game. It's part of the game for a reason, and asking Josh Allen to take the full responsibility of passing and running the ball is too much. And if you do that, your quarterback's going to eventually get hurt, and then your season's in the toilet.
And I think they're great. I think Buffalo's great, but I think that could be their downfall.
Yeah, I was really surprised that Buffalo didn't go for a running back in the offseason. A running back like when Chris Carson was a free agent this offseason, I thought that the Seahawks were probably going to lose him in the offseason because to a team like Buffalo, because I felt like their only X factor they were missing that was keeping them from a Super Bowl was a good running back like that. Not a guy that you consider your franchise guy, because a guy like Chris Carson, he gets hurt a lot and he's pretty injury prone. So you're not going to get him for every game, but the games he is in, he's very productive and he gets you a lot of points and a lot of yards.
It's not just Chris Carson, but like the draft is full of running backs.
Exactly, that too. So I was really surprised that they didn't try and get somebody that they could have as their RB1 that you could establish some sort of running game with. But now that they're just relying on Josh Allen to do everything, that's a lot to ask for your franchise guy.
And then before we finish the show, how serious do you take this game? Are Buffalo still like your AFC favorites?
At this point, yes, they are,
Okay.
Because after what I saw of the Kansas City game, I can't really consider them AFC favorites at this point either. And I still think Buffalo's the best team in the AFC, and I do see them getting to the Super Bowl. Maybe not winning it, but I do see them getting there for sure.
Well, awesome, man. I appreciate you coming on the show. Again, follow him at Derek.Joseph98. There
Yep.
we go. We got it. Derek at .Joseph98. Derek, you did a great job. It's fun talking football. It's fun talking about the concept of a running game. And I think that's an interesting topic. So I appreciate you coming on the show, man.
Yep.
And thank you for coming in and watching the weekend wrap up with Trevor Junt. We'll see you next week.